G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Brass on Tap, episode number 19. It's going to be an exciting one because I've got Gary Alesbrook with me. Just a quick, usual, if you have... new to this channel, please head over to YouTube if you are on Facebook, and make sure you hit the notifications as well. YouTube have changed their algorithms at the moment, so it does rely on a lot of likes and dislikes in movies, in videos that you watch, to actually get the right stuff coming up. So if you like this kind of stuff and you like the videos and similar videos, make sure you hit like on the way out as well. There's loads of inspiring interviews on there, with some incredible musicians, and the last one with Bobby Shue, what can you say? Bobby Shue is an absolute legend, but so is my next guest, Gary. He's, if you've read his bio that was on the link to this, he's an incredible person. His touch touch, should that be the right word? His pronunciation, his articulation to the horn is sublime. The care and the groove that he gets is just, yeah. But hey, we can't do it until we start the stream. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 19. I've got Gary with me. I'm not going to hold this up. I'm going to get him straight on. Gary, how you doing?
Hello. I'm doing very well.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gary Alesbrook. He is an absolute legend of, well, just about everything. He can do everything. He's traveled, he's toured, he's played with the who's who. It's, yeah. If you've ever been to a massive performance somewhere or festival, you've probably seen him up with multiple bands. So he is a wealth of knowledge. So if you do have questions, please get them in so Gary can answer them for you. So Gary, let's start with a bit of how this crazy, stupid, disappointing year has gone. Hopefully it's been better for you. But let's just, can we just touch on what you've been up to for the last year?
We can, yeah. First of all, what's that intro music? The intro music to your stream is amazing. What is that?
I had that written by a very good friend of mine and incredible trombone player called Patrick Johns. So Ooh. I got a few of my mates. There's some tuba, there's some trombone, and then me playing trumpet on it. So
man, big shout out to Patrick. That's unbelievable.
He just came up with it. So
nice. Well, I mean, crazy year. I guess everyone's pretty sick of the story of it's been a crazy year. So just like all the other guys you've been interviewing, I saw your interview with Freddie and mm-hmm. James, and just, it's the same. It's a very similar story, really. Just, trying to keep my head above water and trying to keep myself occupied. And I mean, the big thing is I took a slight change of career in January last year.
Was that because of COVID, or was that a conscious thing of moving forward in life anyway?
It was trying something different because I'm talking January last year, so COVID hadn't hit until March.
Course it hadn't. Yeah, wow.
So in January I decided to do a lot more work on composition and production, with the hope that my touring was continuing anyway, because I had stadiums booked, not me personally, but with the band I played with, we had stadiums booked and massive support slots. But in January, like I say, I just decided to take a different tack. So I decided to do a lot more composition for TV and to try and get into more film, sort of. That's like great. Composition, and I'm glad I did. Because then, as we all know, March hit, and all of a sudden, all the work dried up, and I threw myself into composition completely. So now I'm on 2 music libraries, and getting placements on TV and stuff, which is great.
That's amazing. Man.
Yeah, I feel it's a common sort of comment, but I do feel very, very lucky,
of course,
and very blessed to be busy, and to be carrying on doing music.
But then obviously it takes talent to just be able to dabble in both worlds. And if anyone's checked out your YouTube channel, which everyone watching this, please do. You've done, like, you used to do like transcription Tuesdays, and you used to do all that kind of stuff. You're always challenge yourself to either write or transcribe, or is that something that you would recommend to, because there's a lot of our amateur players out there, and a lot of them just go, oh, I can't do that. So is there a way that you could maybe give them a bit of heads up of how you started with all that kind of stuff, and how you started transcribing, and then maybe moving into the writing part of it for the guys who are thinking of doing it?
Yeah, as in you say, oh, I can't do that, as in I can't transcribe, or I can't, it's kind of anyone can, if you've got a good ear, or you can train your ear. Transcription is not just about reading, reading the notes and playing what the player has performed. You can do your own transcription, and that can be really, really simple stuff. You don't have to transcribe Snarky Puppy and try and pick up what they're doing. You can start with the really simple, sort of like a few Chet Baker kind of licks, and try and fathom out what he's doing, and just hear what he's doing, and play back what he's doing. That's where I'd start. And I know that you ask the question a lot, actually. If you can give one piece of advice, I think that would be it. Transcription.
There you go. Well, I don't have to ask that question.
Listening to what. There you go. Everyone can write that one down. Yeah, because it's a good question, and I have been asked that a lot. I've just like, if you could give one piece, it's a common interviewer question, isn't it? If you could give one piece of advice, what would it be? And it would be that. I think transcription. Just listening and playing by ear what the other person has played. It's just such a valuable way of learning how to play jazz, if you want to play jazz, or if you want to improvise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here's a question. Here's the next one that we can relate to this as well. Do you do it with a piano in front of you, or do it with a horn in the hand?
No, I mean, I do play piano, but no, just literally with the horn in your hand. And yeah, you can. There's a lot of apps nowadays as well that you can slow stuff down. So yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I used to have one on my phone, and that's really useful for transcribing. Yeah, let's make use of this technology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a few trumpet players that do that, and it's a lot. Even if you're looking at like real simple stuff, you can slow it down by as much as you want and try and pick out those notes, and then just gradually speed it up until you get it to the right, to the original tempo. So take advantage of those apps. They're really good.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Yeah, definitely go check them out. So how did you come about doing trumpet then? Like how did it start for you when you were younger? Did you come from a musical family at all?
My granddad, that's my dad's dad, used to play harmonica.
Oh wow!
But apart from that, that's it. Yeah, Larry Adler. Yeah, great harmonica player. But apart from that, no, nobody in my family at all is musical. My brother played some guitar. Sorry, that's of course. But he up to a certain age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started playing trumpet when I was 7. It was a complete accident that I started playing trumpet. It was when I was at school. My mum always used to say, if you get a chance to play an instrument, always just jump at it. And there were 3 kids who wanted to learn trumpet at school, and one of them was sick. One of them was away. And so the teacher came in and said, right, who are the 3 kids who want to play trumpet? And 2 of them stuck their hands up, and I just went, yeah, all right, I'll have a go. And that was it. So I don't know who that kid was, but if he wasn't sick, then maybe I wouldn't have played trumpet. So
wow, thank God for him.
There
whoever had him sick.
Yeah, and I had a great, I think like James was saying as well. James Scopus in one of your interviews, it's about teaching as well. I had a great teacher growing up, Mr. Huxham, who actually died not so long ago, but he was in his 80s, and he was just an absolutely legendary trumpet player from my hometown of Plymouth.
Oh, beautiful down there.
It is, yes, yeah. it's a bit of a cultural cul-de-sac though. So I could, obviously being a teenager, I couldn't wait to move out. So then I went to Leeds College of Music, and the rest is history.
It's great. So, how did you find your passion for jazz then? Was it always jazz for you, or did you dabble in classical?
Growing up in Plymouth, I kind of, there was a lot of trad jazz bands around. In fact, I spoke to a Bristol musician not so long ago, Andy Leggett, who's a Bristol jazzer, and once I started talking about trad jazz, I think he was really surprised. You know, I do all these Funky Fridays and stuff, and all of a sudden I'm talking about On the Sunny Side of the Street and Acapulco and stuff, and he's like, "Wow, how do you know these people?" So I started playing. I started playing all that stuff when I was sort of 16 or 17, and a lot of trad jazz, in my opinion, is very melodic. So I'd like to think that my improvisation is quite sort of based on melody. I'm a big fan of melody and players like sort of Chet Baker and stuff, not in the trad jazz, but those players that are more melodic. That's what I'm really into. So alongside the classical, obviously I went up to grade 8 trumpet and did all my classical work, and I continue to do my classical work, because that's the second piece of advice that I'd give to trumpet players is classical studies and etudes and all that kind of stuff. I don't teach that much, but a lot of players, come to me and say, I want to play jazz. And as soon as I put all these kind of classical etudes in front of them, they're like, I don't want to do this. And I always obviously give Wynton Marsalis as the example, somebody who is just absolutely blinding at classical, and as trumpet players, as we need to keep this technique up.
Of course.
And that's the only way of doing it. So
certainly is. The one thing that is a very common feature, I think, throughout these streams is everyone does keep to the basics. Regardless of what style, genre, or whatever you're doing, everyone does return, especially if things aren't going right, back to the basics. Basics will figure it out, and it always does. So it's great advice. So who are you listening to? Obviously Chet Baker, because you've mentioned definitely him a few times. So who are your inspirations as you were coming through? Are there some guys that, that you had on an LP that just worn out, like that just you couldn't stop listening to?
Yeah, it is the West Coast, really. And I think that is, the Chet Baker, Art Pepper, all of those kind of guys, really, because it's just, I love Clifford Brown and all that kind of, and Miles Davis and stuff, and all the classics. But Chet is where it's at for me. He's just, I just love his, I love his style. But I think it was important when I was growing up not to just be influenced by jazz. I think that I used to listen to a lot of hip hop when I was growing up. So
yeah, right.
And I think like feel and groove for me is a lot more important than what notes you're actually playing. And I used to, when I was growing up, I used to listen to a lot of West Coast hip hop as well as West Coast jazz. So a lot of kind of Snoop and the Dog Pound and all this kind of stuff, which again probably surprises a lot of people. But it influences my feel and my style. For me, it's about playing in the pocket. It's about playing behind the beat, and that's, you don't get more behind the beat than Snoop Dogg. And Chet Baker,
of course. Well, even just touching on that, I'm going to play a video soon. I'm going to play. You're obviously a Roy Hargrove fan, because
absolutely.
Who isn't? I mean, rest
so
in peace.
I didn't mention Roy Hargrove. No, of course.
Yeah. But I'm going to play Strasbourg Street that you recorded with yourself, so socially distanced in your own room over this last year. And to be fair, the one thing that I can I say adore? Is that the right word? The one thing I admire maybe is your articulation. Your articulation that you use when you play, especially on the flugel. But it doesn't really matter whether it's flugel or trumpet. It's quite unique, and it's incredible. I try to pinpoint it every single time I listen to it. So I'm just going to play this video, and then we'll have a bit of a chat. So this, ladies and gentlemen, this is Strasbourg Street. Yeah, man. It just, and you can hear your influences in that. You know, it's just sat right back. Yeah, it's just but so, what are you thinking about with that? With that articulation, like this, there's a care that you take, and it's always. We met when you came in that time to try my trumpet out, and that's one thing I took away from that day as well was your care of your notes, your beginnings to your rends. It's lovely. So, what are you thinking about? Is there something that you've worked on to get that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. But as I was, one thing I didn't mention actually was one of my biggest influences that you touched on with James actually was Gerard Presencer, who's possibly, you know, as I was a teenager, one of my biggest influences because of that fact. You know, he played a lot of flugel, I you know, mostly, and his intonation. Right, it's just unbelievable, and you know, as soon as you hear it, it's like that's Gerard. You know, because some trumpet players you can say, oh, who is that? You know, but with Gerard, it's just, man, his intonation is just that's where it's at for me. He could just play, you know, the scale of C, and I'm just like, ooh, man, it's, you know, that's so yeah. I forgot to mention Gerard. He's one of my biggest influences. Absolutely. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about playing less, just playing less. I think I've had those moments on stage where I've certainly played too much, 100% in every single genre that I've done. I can think of loads of times where I've just played too much. Certainly, and maybe in a pop setting as well, where someone's looked at me and gone, you know, you're playing too much. Yeah, so I'm just trying to dial it back a bit. I'm trying to get back to that West Coast, to playing in the pocket. It's about the groove. It's not about the notes. You know, the notes are, you know, just the notes are lovely, but just, you know, just get that groove right first. That's the important bit. But after, I think you asked Freddie, I think, the same question. I think it's, you know, what at this point, you know, what am I thinking about? At this point, it's a vocabulary. You know, I've learned this language over such a long time, and I think what it is it's all the influences are coming in. You know, so it is Gerard influence, Chet Baker influence, Snoop Dogg influence, you know, to try and get these feels, and then, you know, the more, and then you can switch off, you know, and just let it happen, really. Obviously, I'm thinking about what the chords are, otherwise it's going to sound rubbish. So
of course, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can just use your ear, and, you know, but obviously understanding what you're playing is a lot better, you know, but having an ear for it is very, very handy. And obviously, when, like we talked earlier, transcribing develops that ear. You know, you hear that stuff and you hear it, so, you know, it all rolls into a oneer. But for me, it was just like, even just listening to that now, it just proves that the trumpet is just an extension of who we are, isn't it? You know, this is you've got something to say, and this is how you want to say it, and that's how people should play. They should play instead of, you know, trying to force the instrument to do it, or trying to force it to sound like that person over there. Just play the way you hear it, the way you know, and that's what you do all the time, which is great. So
yeah, and I had a close friend of mine, actually. He was I lived with him for quite a while, and he always used to say, or we used to have these conversations all the time about people just about people maybe just playing a bit too much. And I've fallen into that category myself. Like I said, we all get that. We all get up on stage and we're a bit nervous, and it's just like we just play too much. And I've had the luxury and maybe the disappointment sometimes of hearing a lot of my performances back, up on stage, and sometimes it's like, oh man, I'm playing way too much. I'm just, it's like I'm being chased or something. It's like just stop, man, stop, just chill out, man, just.
Well,
yeah, so.
I definitely need to take a leaf out of your book, because I think my default is bebop, because that's what I first fell in love with at one point, and I'm sort of like doing the opposite. I did bebop, and then I'm sort of like now I'm falling back into the whole just take it easy and do everything, where and then if I get nervous or something, it's like quick, just play everything, just go send.
Yeah, but again, to mention your previous interviews, Freddie said the same. He said the same thing of just like there's a time and a place. There is, and there is. I'm not going to, if everyone's kind of burning away and that's what it calls for, then that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. But my default is just to chill out. There's no fire. Like I say, we're not being chased. It's all good.
That's such a great way to think of it. We're not being chased. Just play it. I love it. That's awesome. So you mentioned, sometimes when we're on stage, we feel a bit nervous, and things go a bit, oh God, what am I going to do? You go into panic mode and things happen. So, you've done concerts, or to mention a few, I've got your bio with me. What, Scissor Sisters, Kasabian, massive. You did Gallagher's High Flying Birds. You've done, you've done a lot, dude. And these are not small bands. These are playing to thousands of people, or even not hundreds of thousands of people. So is there a mindset you put yourself in? Like, is there a way you set yourself up to go on stage, and when you do feel the nerves, how is there a way that you deal with it that people could pick up from?
I think I've been through my fair share of nerve-wracking gigs, and I think that the more you do, obviously the better you kind of deal with them. I think initially when I was younger, I think I was pretty nervous, actually. I always tell the story of, it's not a great way for everyone to go, but I had an absolute car crash of a concert that I did, and after that, things tended to get a bit easier after that. It could have gone either way. Basically, long story short, I used to play trumpet in Plymouth Youth Music Theatre, and we used to do a lot of like real high profile kind of shows. And we were doing a show called The Hired Man, and I was only 18, I think. The Hired Man, written by Melvin Bragg and Howard Goodall. And it was, I think it was the first show we did. It was a 2-week run, and Melvin Bragg and Howard Goodall came to the show. Like that wasn't nerve-wracking enough. The youth music theatre group were absolutely incredible. Really, really good sort of introduction for me for that kind of stuff. I love musicals as well, and it was the band was very small. It was like a cello, 2 keyboards, like a flute and a trumpet. So the trumpet stuck out like a trumpet. And it was set in the in the First World War, and there was a scene in the second act where everyone on stage dies, and there's a complete minute's silence, and I have to come in by myself. We're visible as well, so I can't hide. I can't practice anything. And I come in with this beautiful, beautiful line. This, you can hear people crying in the audience. Oh, wow. It's incredible, absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever messed up something so spectacularly in my life. It was horrendous, and I couldn't get it together. I'm like, and it's like, oh Jesus! Even the conductor's just like, I don't know, dropping his baton and walking away. He's like, well, man, we're done. And I didn't really recover from that. I had 2 weeks of a run after that, and I made myself ill. I made myself so nervous on every single performance. I was having chats with him as like, can we do this on another instrument? Can I just duck out of this? And I think I messed it up maybe another time. And I got through that. And I think after that, it was a big telling thing of like, right, I either need to sort of quit or I need to sort of cope, some kind of coping mechanism. And yeah, just the more gigs I did, and the more I sort of, tried to just give myself a good sort of like talking to and be prepared. I think that was the thing. I don't think I wasn't prepared. I wasn't practiced enough. I wasn't confident enough, so going into things in the future, I was prepared. I was practiced. I knew I could play it. I could play it. But yeah, so I think, and then the more experience I had, then the easier it became. But don't get me wrong, it gets to all of us. I played Tea in the Park with Kasabian. That was 77,000 people, and I had to play the Scottish, the Scottish national anthem, "Flower of Scotland," just by myself. And Serge, Serge, the lead singer of the band, he said to me the day before, he said, "Do you know Flower of Scotland?" I was like, yeah, I guess I can learn it. But I didn't want to, I knew it's like the last post. You know what that's like. You can kind of get halfway through it and go, "Have I played that bit? Have I played that bit already? Oh, geez," just because you've played it a million times, but the nerves just get to you. So yeah, Flower of Scotland. I actually wrote the music around the end of my bell.
Very clever.
Just the important bits. And I told the cameraman behind me, I said, "Is it cool if you just don't film me from behind? Because everyone's going to find out about this." But luckily, I started the first few bars of Flower of Scotland, and about 77,000 Scottish people started singing it back to me. So it didn't really matter that much. So it was fine. But yeah, nerves will get to us, and the strategies are, you can do it if you're prepared. So just be confident in the fact that you can do it. Take some deep breaths on stage. I've been there a million times of almost, you're just not breathing, you're not relaxing, just relax. It's fine.
Yeah, massively. I mean, there's something to be said about just turning away and just giving you that self-confidence as well. There's obviously a lot of people say there's a fine line between cockiness and being confident, but literally having, sometimes if things are going wrong, just turn to you and just go, what, just ask yourself, what are you doing? Just breathe. You can do this. Just put the horn up and blow. I find for me, if things are going wrong, it's because I'm overthinking it. It's because I'm thinking about this, that, well, I've got to breathe, I've got to do that, got to do that. And then it's like, things are going wrong. It's like, no, just stick the horn up and just blow. So, and that usually solves it for me. So, but yeah, you're right. That's great advice.
Confidence and anxiety is such a difficult one and there's no real true answer really, because we're all different as human beings anyway. I just know me personally, I've been thrown in enough of those situations now where hopefully I can cope with it. But preparation is key to your playing. If you're on top of your playing, if you've just been like, "Oh no, I won't practice for 5 days, I won't practice 7 days," and then all of a sudden somebody says, "Right, can you play tomorrow?" And it'd be like, "Oh, I'm not prepared." Oh, geez. So just make sure you're prepared. That's the important bit.
I mean, if you know you can do it, then you won't worry about doing it, then will you? in a way, So be prepared and you do it. That's great advice. So
Cub Scouts, isn't it?
Be prepared. Exactly. I was a Cub Scout. So dib, 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 dob, 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 and all that stuff. It prepares you for life. All that stuff. Just be prepared for everything. Everything. Well, you can't be prepared for everything because life does throw different things at you. But be as prepared as you can be.
No, absolutely. Now, I think Serge from Kasabian was a big fan of that. Of just like put him in the deep end. He'd always do that kind of like a day before. He was like, "Do you know the theme tune to E.T.?" And I was like, yeah. And I think this was a big festival as well. I can't remember now. I think it was Reading or Leeds Festival. It's like, right, okay, you want me to play that by myself? Okay. In front of 100,000 people. Right. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'll be right back. Yeah, I think he thrived on that, I think.
that's great that you've got an incredible ear that you can just go, just give us 2 secs and I'll work it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there, because there'll be other people, they'll be like, you got the music? And so,
it's the
awesome.
transcriptions.
Yeah, exactly. Transcriptions. Exactly. It comes back to our original point.
Well,
while we're on Kasabian, shall we just see a bit of you playing with them? I think that'd be lovely.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Kasabian. That's great, man. Like, it's, playing for thousands and thousands of people. It must be such an incredible feeling up there when the band's cooking.
That was good. I mean, do you know what? It was pretty surreal because everyone, a few people asked me that question, like, what it's like, playing in front of, I think it was estimated at 110,000 people. And It's just like, you don't see them. You see the first sort of 5 to 10,000 in front of you, which is obviously quite a lot of people. But yeah, you don't see it. And it's only when you see it on TV that they do obviously the pan back, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, that's, whoa, man, that's a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have asked me as well, and I know I don't even know whether I have it with me. I might have it up there. I might be able to get it down. Is there a way like that a perfect setup for you? Because a lot of people have said to me, when you're on stage with a massive rock band like that, and you've played for quite a few, you've played for you've done Rag and Bone Man as well, and we've gone through previous ones before, but is there a way that you have a setup to be able to hear yourself properly? Like, do you have a shield around your mic, or do you have make sure you can hear yourself back, or do you have inner ears, or what's your preference?
Yeah, I've got my inner ears, Jerry Harvey audio, which I think everyone's got, who did big gigs like that. Yeah, they're an absolute lifesaver. I used to play with a monitor wedge in front of me, but I'm next to Ian Matthews, the greatest drummer in the world, and a bass cab the size of Luxembourg. So it's just, it's pretty intense. So yeah, the in-ear monitors are not only to save my hearing, they're absolutely incredible. So that's
genius technology. That's
absolutely.
It's definitely changed a lot of things since in-ear ears have been around. So that's amazing. So to get yourself out there and actually get yourself in the limelight to be picked for these gigs, obviously a lot of marketing comes along with that, and marketing yourself as an artist, marketing yourself as a person. I mean, obviously you've moved into composing for film and everything as well, so you have to be able to market yourself that way as well, because I mean, there's 7 billion people in the country. There has to be a way for people to be able to see. So something we talked about earlier is that you actually are very good at it. So could you just touch in a way of how some of our guys could better promote themselves as musicians and artists?
Yeah, well, I think that I released my first album, my first jazz album. I've been doing the session stuff for a long time, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll continue to do it. But yeah, my first album, actually, when did that come out? 2000 whenever. 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't know, like a lot of albums, just completely flopped. No one listened to it. No one cared. But it was all because it was all my fault. I hadn't even thought about marketing it or pushing it to the right listeners and platforms and press releases and all that kind of stuff. So I knew I wanted to do a second album. That's my one that came out in 2019 called The Stories We Tell Ourselves. But I didn't want to make the same. I didn't want to make the same mistake at all. So at the beginning of that year, or kind of like mid 2019, I thought, right, I am gonna try and smash Instagram, and Spotify, dreaded Spotify, and also get rid of all my CDs, and and do all the stuff that I hadn't done previously. So the 10,000 mark for Instagram is quite an important sort of mark for followers on Instagram, because that gives you a lot more to do, and links and all this, swipe up options and all this kind of stuff. And it just got me into the realms a lot more of just like marketing, but just pushing yourself. There's so many musicians out there that I know that have incredible albums that are not being heard. And it's because of just not going to the right people and not being marketed. And the big change as musicians now, certainly after a global pandemic, is that we're all having to market our own stuff, and be our own managers and agents, and push our own music. And it's so important. And there's the help market of how to make it on Spotify, how to get on playlists, how to push yourself on YouTube and Instagram is very oversaturated now. But I can give you and the listeners some names of people that I follow. So if you've got music to push and put out there, they're really good people to follow. I might as well just name them now. The first guy I follow is a guy called Andrew Southworth. And Andrew's a guy on YouTube who is very good at doing Facebook advertising. As musicians, we've got to get our head around Facebook advertising, and that pushes adverts all around, because Facebook and Instagram are the same. Facebook owns Instagram, so all of your advertising that goes on Facebook then goes on Instagram. And Andrew has a series of videos on YouTube that are brilliant, and really informative of how to do your own Facebook advertising as a musician. He is a musician as well. So I'd go and check him out. Definitely. And the second guy I'd check out is a guy called Damien Keys. I wrote him down and wrote this one down. Actually, he's he describes himself as a music industry educator. I think he's a guitarist, but his videos are brilliant. And he does he does a YouTube video of a 21-day release for your album. And that that is brilliant. Most people, my first album it was all late. I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't, I released it on Spotify. I got one of the names wrong, all that kind of stuff. So then the second time, I did this kind of 21-day release plan. I did Facebook advertising. What I wanted to do was sell all my CDs, get people to listen to me on Bandcamp, but also get some, take advantage of Spotify. Let's address the elephant in the room. We all have a dislike, musicians and artists, we all have a slight dislike for Spotify. And I am in the, in the same boat. Me personally, I am not going to change Spotify as an individual musician. I personally think Spotify should become a record label, and then therefore they can monitor how many people and the types of music that they upload. But anyway, that's a long conversation. But I just thought, right, I'm gonna take advantage of it, and I'm just gonna actually use it and actually get some streams. And so using all of those tactics and using all of those marketing techniques, I managed to achieve 1.3 million streams on one of my songs. If anyone is interested, that paid me just over £1,700. So yeah, that sucks. But I think the guy Daniel Ek, isn't it, who owns Spotify, he upset a lot of musicians very, very recently by saying that musicians shouldn't be lazy. They should just put out more music, just keep putting out music and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays, like Instagram and all that kind of, and Facebook, it's all about algorithms, and staying in the algorithm, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean about putting out music all the time, but it means pushing people to your work. So that's what's important. I can't explain all of this now because it's about a 5-hour conversation.
Of course.
But I would highly recommend checking out those two guys that I mentioned, and also perhaps doing a marketing course. And I won't call it marketing, selling yourself, pushing yourself as a musician. And the site Udemy, how you pronounce it, Udemy, is really good for just little kind of bite-sized courses on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So many people make mistakes on Instagram and Facebook, really bad videos. This is the reason one of your interviews are ahead of of other interviews, because it looks great. You've got your intro music, you've got all this stuff going on. This is what people want to see. Do you know what I mean? It's just not.
I mean, I picked this up from like the same thing, doing research. I'm a Udemy fan myself, and so I did my research and I looked at a platform that would benefit both parties, and and something that would make life easier, and that's and that's how I became and got this channel going. And you're right, marketing is hard. It's something that even I'm struggling with. Like YouTube changed the algorithm again. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the thing, that it's all about likes and dislikes now and stuff like that. So they're encouraging people to do that rather than, sending notifications and subscribing and stuff, which you still have to do, but you're not going to see any of the similar videos that you want to see if you don't put a like thing there. They're just going to keep throwing things at you. So it does change all the time. We're constantly having to adapt to these, technologies and algorithms, and it's a lot of work. And to be fair, it's a shame that, it's amazing that you got 1.3 million plays on that song, but there's also 7 billion people in the world. So it's sort of like pushing yourself out there, and that's it's what we have to constantly do. And Spotify and Bandcamp, for me, Spotify, yes, I do use it. I don't have to agree with it, but I do use it. But for me, I use it as a looking glass. I use it as a try before you buy. So if I listen to a chart and I'm just like, I love it, then I'll buy it, and that's what it is. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just buy it, and just get on with it. But Spotify is great. The amount of times I've still got a wall of CDs. Most of them signed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they've got. Most of them I get the artist to sign them, and then I just leave them on the shelf, and then I listen to, you know what I mean? So that's how I do it. It's like the old LPs, you buy them, but for them to actually contain their value, or in my mind, but then there's other people that are like, it has to be played, it has to be heard, buy it to hear it. So it's hard.
That's great. I think that's, but whether that's a dying thing, I don't know. I think the future is in, the future is clearly in streaming, and I love the idea. You go to Spotify, you can type in Louis Armstrong, Wynton Marsalis, or whatever, and their entire back catalogue comes up. It's absolutely incredible. Does something need to change? Yes, absolutely. I think Spotify, Napster, and all of those kind of platforms came in under the radar, and all of a sudden they could play your music and not pay you, and it was like, well, how is this? What loophole was that? But now it's here. I would like to take advantage of it, but also I would like to see a change in it. Like every other artist, I wouldn't want to be labeled as just like saying, oh, well, you're just using it, you're contributing to the problem.
Absolutely.
I think I would like to milk it as much as I possibly can. But I looking forward to the day when the pieces of the pie, become a little bit smaller, so we all get paid a bit more.
Completely. I think one of the most a guy that's done the marketing very well throughout his career is Till Bronner. He's a great guy, and the way.
Oh, why didn't I mention him? I mean, he's my other. So Gerard Presencer and Till Bronner.
I'm sparking all this stuff in your brain. It's fine. We'll get there in the end. I'm trying to get.
Mention Till.
I'm trying to get both of those guys on this channel. As I know, Gerard's having a look at it, and hopefully I'll get him on soon. Until he's a hard man to get hold of. Everyone that has a manager is hard to get hold of these days.
Yeah, so, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm still trying, so I'll keep going until they get that annoyed that they go, yeah, sure, I'll come on.
I'll keep trying. I'd love to. Yeah, an interview with Till would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Gerard will do it, won't he?
I hope so. He's an absolute legend. It'd be great to have him on, and he's inspired so many people. So it's just he's perfect for this channel. So yeah, if you haven't heard Gerard Presents and obviously Gary, but go look them up. They're amazing. Ooh. So those two people that you mentioned as well, I'll put them in the description so that people can just click on it and go straight to it once they're watching this video.
Yeah, because like I say, I think that is, most people think of like, pushing yourself. And I get those messages all the time of just like, increase your, playlists, increase your playlists, increase your streams, download this. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. And that is so oversaturated now.
It is massively,
just these two guys. That's all you need.
Cool.
Go and check out. That's it.
I'll definitely put them in. Mike Lovett's popped by. He said, Till is lovely. He'll come on. Hi to Gary. Yay. Thanks so much for supporting, Mike. Hopefully I'm going to get Mike back on April's times and my 6-month anniversary. He kicked this whole channel off. So
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
I haven't. I'm looking forward to getting him back on, have a chat about hopefully the future is a lot brighter than it was back in October. So so that's great. Crossed. Yeah, I had a few questions from a few people to do with they said there's a lovely, so they got the questions in early because they didn't know whether they could make the stream. And they were talking about the way you articulate when doing your jazz. Now I tried to explain a little bit about how I would think you would do it. And I think it was based on one of your transcription ones, and you were grooving along, and it was almost like you were doodle tonguing it. So you weren't short, it wasn't long. It was like so the way I explained it to him is like a da-da. I mean, that's really bad swing, but are you actually doing? It's really hard to explain. I said to him, this is hard to explain. It's just a feel. It's a way that you do it.
It's the Bill and Ben technique.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I must be coming over like a right idiot right now. But is there a way that you've been taught to articulate? I mean, do you doodle tongue in the trumpet? And if so, like, is there you're not doing, there's something you're doing that people are really interested in. So,
I think, well, obviously, like the other person that we haven't mentioned is Clarke Terry, and I mean, that is,
rest in peace, love him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it really. It's the Clarke Terry. It's the it's the oodle doodle.
The oodle doodle.
And that's it. I've spent a lifetime listening to Clarke Terry, and I hope some of it sunk in. So is
that how you've been able to put it into your playing, or did you actually sort of get taught something, or is there something that you could teach people to maybe think about to try at home on their own instruments?
I think it would be exactly the same as looking at as literally going on YouTube and typing in Clarke Terry talking about oodle doodle.
Oh, is there actually a YouTube thing?
There is, yeah. He talks about oodle doodle. Okay, put that link up as well.
That's what I will.
Apart from me just repeating exactly what he says, but he is like that instead of, I wouldn't do it into the microphone, but the a strict sort of swing, and then something that's too lazy. Clarke Terry's kind of in between of just this kind of like, the articulation's not the same all the way through, so it's not just oodle doodle. You've got, this is so weird. It's not just oodle doodle, but you've got this kind of like oodle doodle, this kind of thing. So it is almost like being underwater, And with I learned a lot from Clarke Terry's scat singing as well. If you listen to him singing, or there's a good one on YouTube actually of him doing the song Mumbles. Which is one of Clarke Terry's classics, and him scat singing.
I'll make a note of that and I'll put that on there as well.
Him scat singing is exactly like how he's playing. I think when I grew up, actually, when I was taught when I was young, I was taught to sing a lot. I'm not the greatest of singers, but I think that really stands you in good stead, because weirdly, like, most of my favorite trumpet players are the ones that sing as well. So you've got, even, you've got, Dizzy Gillespie, or, Till Bronner, Chet Baker, Clarke Terry, all these players sing. And I think that's really important. Not necessarily, you don't have to sing in front of people. I'd never sing in front of people, but I always sing at home. I always, I'll always be like, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of articulation, is that's where that comes from. It comes from a lot of singers. If you listen to, listen to a lot of singers. If you're a trumpet player and you want to know how to, listen to some singers. Kurt Elling.
Just won a Grammy, so definitely listen to Kurt Elling's latest one. It's a beautiful album. So
congratulations, Kurt. Yeah. So listening to lots of different, that's the third thing that players should do. With my advice for a new young player, is just listen to lots of different genres. You're going to pick up a lot from different genres. So my inflections in my intonation, my articulation, it is not just from West Coast jazz, it's from West Coast hip hop as well, because I've listened to a lot of that. So, so there is nobody that raps in the pocket as much as Snoop Dogg. When I talk about in the pocket, it's behind the beat, and that's, so you've got this kind of like, I listen to a lot of R&B, so you've got this kind of like D'Angelo. Roy Hargrove did the horns for D'Angelo. It's really behind the beat. And hip hop artists like Busta Rhymes and like that. It's so, Busta Rhymes is a good one to listen to, actually, for where to place your sort of notes, because it's so behind the beat. I love it. That's what it's all about. So that combination of oodle doodle and not rushing. Yeah. And you get Clarke Terry.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I remember someone when I was younger saying, you got to be so behind the beat that you're almost in the next room.
or the previous song.
The previous song. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, talking about singers and talking about articulation, you've worked with Raul Midón, haven't you?
Yeah, I love Raul to bits.
Sorry, Gary. I don't know on the stream whether you just cut out. Sorry, go again for that last comment.
Sorry. Yeah, Raul, I did a little in my mammoth takeover of Instagram when I was trying to get loads of followers together. I was trying to do lots of split screen videos, and I came across a video years ago, actually, with Raul Midón. He's a Grammy nominated singer guitar player, and he lives not far from New York. And so I did I just did a split screen video. He does this mouth trumpet thing.
It's incredible. It sounds like flugel, doesn't it? It
sounds great. And the same thing. I love his kind of articulation. I'm just like, that's like Clarke Terry, oodle doodle, but with kind of scat. And so I did a split screen video of one of his thing, and he contacted me. I'd obviously like tagged him in it, as you do on Instagram. And he contacted me and was just like, oh man, I love your playing, it's great. And I was like, oh, thanks. Thanks, Raul. And then he contacted me again a few months later and said, do you want to be on my album? And I was like, yes, please. And so I just kind of started this relationship with Raul, and he came across to the UK sort of before the pandemic hit, and he came to one of my gigs, which was really nice, and then I went to one of his gigs at Pizza Express in London, which was very cool, and learned a lot from him with the same aesthetic of just like, behind the beat, relaxed. Just, it's about the groove. It's about, his guitar playing is unbelievable, and his singing and his articulation,
his feel
is absolutely bang on.
I should probably change the title of this stream to "In the Pocket," because it's everything that is what it is, isn't it? And you graciously shared a video with us of a little collaboration you did together when he was over in the UK.
Yeah.
So I'd love to play it for our guys right now. So enjoy this, ladies
and
gentlemen.
Yeah, it's great night.
I said, "You want to play on my record?" And we sent some files back and forth over the internet. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play the tune right now, the new tune from my new record. Gary Alesbrook, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish I was there for that. I didn't even know you was over. That's incredible. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. It's
No, I really enjoy it. I've got a special place in my heart for Raul and his music and stuff. He's absolutely incredible. That was nice to play in a sold out kind of Pizza Express in London as well. It was really.
I mean,
I was nervous for that. It was really nerve wracking.
Well, as we're just chatting off screen, then like it's just something as simple as knowing who these people have played with can just drop in your head, can't it? And it's like, whoa, So you've just got to get with it, chuck the horn in your face, and go for it. Yeah.
Actually, knowing who somebody had played with, that was one I got really nervous for. Was like years ago, I played for Rafael Sadiq, and we did a European tour with him. And then just as I was sort of like getting into it, I found out that the last trumpet player he had was Roy Hargrove. I was like, for God's sake, don't tell me that. What? How am I gonna? What? Jesus Christ! So yeah, that was a bit of anxiety to deal with, because it was just like, oh, he's used to Roy, and then all of a sudden, this guy from Bristol pops up in the background. He's like he's singing away and looking back at me like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? No, it was all right. It went well, but
in the end, you just highlighted that listening to people and using our ears is such an important part. And that's not down to us imitating people. That's down to us knowing what you don't know what kind of gig you want to walk into, but as soon as that band starts up, you sort of, if you've listened to enough music, you're like, you know what, this feels like this. I'm going to do me based on Clarke Terry or based on Roy Hargrove, or you know what I mean. Like you know the feel. If you go into something blind, then
that's part of the preparation.
Exactly, preparation.
Preparation again. Yeah,
you'll end up getting stuck in bebop lines like I do. So
nothing wrong with that.
Anyway, so you mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Gary, that you had a change of scene back in January into your filming and composing. Yeah, can we touch on that? Like, how's it going? How's all the stuff you're working on? Is there some stuff we could check out? You shared a video with us. You shared your reel with us, which is great. So I'm going to definitely play that. But just could you touch on anyone that is in there? Like myself, I'm not one, unfortunately, that I can just sit down and put pen to paper. I want to be, and I've got so much running through my head sometimes that I'm just like, I wish I could just get it out and put it down on something. But for some of our guys out there that don't quite know where to start, they're stuck there going, I don't know what chords to write down. I don't want that. Is there any advice you can sort of give them getting started and then move into your career that you've started already in TV and film?
Well, it's the same sort of thing. We touched on sort of like, influences as a trumpet player. And I guess now we're talking about sort of like influences as a composer. I've always been into lots of different kinds of music, lots of different kinds. And I've always been influenced by every single band, and probably the longest running band I was in was the Super Furry Animals. And if people remember who they are, and they, it's kind of back in the day, we were talking about in the 90s, and their music was really eclectic. So they introduced me. In fact, they did introduce me to the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and all that kind of stuff. Wow. And just different kinds of sort of like Ennio Morricone and lots of different film stuff. And I thought this is great. And and then as a session musician, I started to get some film work. I've been lucky enough to play on a few film soundtracks and TV soundtracks and things like that. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to get into it. So over the years, I've always been working on my mixing and my mastering and my production skills and all that kind of stuff, because I think certainly where music is heading, I think you need to wear quite a few different hats. And not to be a jack of all trades, of course, but I always wanted to do composition and be sort of like influenced by all the greats of John Williams and all that kind of stuff, and I love composing, and so so January last year, that's a decision I decided to jump into wholeheartedly. and started off with writing music for royalty-free sites like Audio Jungle and Pond 5 and these things. So if, as you know, a YouTuber, you can just download a simple song and pay me $10 for it, and that's it. Pay a simple license, and it can be used over and over again. And then from that, I got into independent music libraries, of which I'm on 2 now, and getting stuff placed on TV, which is great.
That's awesome.
And that's where I am right now. Really, I'm trying to get into composing for film. That would be an awesome step, but it's the same thing really. You've got to market yourself as a film composer, because I speak to a lot of directors. I've got a few director sort of friends, and we kind of keep in touch and stuff. And I met them through my sort of networking, which is obviously what you've got to do. And then I hopefully if when they decide to choose a composer for their next project, hopefully I'll be top of their list. In fact, one of them is talking about doing a black and white film noir. That's his next project. So I'm like, I can do that. So that's been, that's where I'm at right now is just a lot of TV work.
That's awesome, man. Like it's so amazing to hear that you've gone so hardly in it, and then it's just working, and you're growing, and you're gonna grow and continue to grow, and it's gonna be incredible. So obviously you get sent, just the process of it. Obviously this isn't the same every time, but sometimes you get sent the ad or the film or the or the little jingle and just go, right, can you write something to this? Or do you write the jingle first and then they put the stuff behind that? How's it work?
There's a TV program coming up in April, and they sent a brief to the music to the music library production team and said, right, we need lots of stuff like this. And then I got that message, and it was like, right, okay, I need to go and write, a load of tracks like that, really. I've only had a couple of briefs, and they've, I'm sure most library musicians and composers know the story of the briefs can be so vague sometimes. Because they are directors or editors or something, and they're not quite sure, they want something to be electro pop or European pop, but not too European, or something a bit more yellow, and it's just it's so vague. So yeah, briefs can be a bit weird sometimes. So I prefer of just writing tracks that I think will work in a library.
That's great, yeah.
And that can be anything from I'm writing pop stuff, to jazzy stuff, to lo-fi stuff, to sort of whatever I think will work on television, and it seems to be working because it's being played on television. So
awesome.
Great.
Have you got to the stage where you wake up in the middle of the night, or you're playing a thing and you just go, oh, I need to write that down just in case?
No, but sometimes my girlfriend will be like, she's chatting to me, and she's you're not in the room, are you? And I'm there's probably a little speech bubble here, and it's just like I'm probably doodling or something like it's like, what is it? So so no, not when I'm sleeping, but yeah, sometimes I can be not very present because as musicians know, we kind of think about music quite a lot. So
yeah, I have been caught out that way as well, and
apparently, good. It's not just me.
Apparently, my fingers are going as well. Like, my wife always says to me, like when we're watching a movie or something like that, and if we're holding hands or something, and she'd be like, "What are you playing?" And I'm like, "Huh."
Are you playing this? Are you playing the same lick? Because I'm always playing the same.
It must be the same lick. It's telepathically going through all of us. Yeah. I'm
going from B down to C sharp.
Yeah, that's pretty much one. Yeah,
that sounds about right. Yeah, it's not just me then. That's great. Good to know.
I mean, the main reason I asked as well, because there's that famous YouTube clip of George Lucas turning up to John Williams' house with Star Wars, and he literally just plays this thing to him, and when you're watching it, and you could tell John's just in his mind just sort of watching this thing and almost composing it while watching it through the first time, and that's why I was just asking do they send you, do they give you much help? And they obviously don't, which is incredible that you come up with what you come up with.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about two different
obviously
two
film
different
and television
forms of composition here. So I mean I did a film. I played on a film. I played on Guy Ritchie's The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And played on the soundtrack to that. So I went to the studio and played to screen, and you can see the process of like, right, okay, this has been composed to the film. This is amazing. This is, and I'd like to do that. The TV stuff that I'm doing at the moment is incredible, and I love, sitting down and composing and writing things I think will work. But I'm not writing things that I think will work for a specific piece of media, which is what I'd like to do. I'd like to see, I'd like to have a film in front of me and contribute to that emotion that the director is trying to portray. I think that's the next, that's the next step for me. Because I loved performing, on a soundtrack, and it's just like, man, I want to do that. That's great.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you will get there, and I can't wait to hear it myself. If anyone from John Lewis is watching,
John Lewis, the next Christmas advert.
Next Christmas advert. This man right here. Anyway, shall we show some of our listeners what you've been up to, dude? And because I think it's great. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is some of Gary's work. Oh, it's not. Oh, my technology just let me down. It said I can't locate files. So hang on, give me 2 secs. Here we go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's brilliant, Gary. There's some stunning stuff there, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you as a composer.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Just before we finish up, I'd love to touch on that. You're an Eclipse artist, aren't you?
I am indeed. Have been for a very long time. 20 years? No. Maybe. Yes.
Well, I thought to myself, I mean, this is a Brass on Tap channel. We should probably talk about a bit of brass itself. So could you just chat us through about what you love about the horns, or what, just maybe just even as a personal thing of what you look for in a horn? Not technically Eclipse, even though you are an Eclipse artist, but what you look for. And a lot of people out there, on the Bobby Shoe one, we got into a bit of a thing of, the right mouthpiece for the right job. Now, are you that kind of guy, or do you just deal with, same mouthpiece, say like any job sort of thing?
I am far from that guy. In fact, I found out about 2 months ago that my Flugel mouthpiece has never fitted my Flugel right. and I didn't. It was because it was always wobbling in the receiver, and I was just like, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? So, yeah, that's the kind of when it comes to mouthpieces and gear, I'm a bit of the the Ronnie O'Sullivan of it's like is what it is really.
It works.
Yeah, it works. That'll do. But I was introduced to Eclipse with Byron Wallen. Byron came to Bristol. I haven't spoke to Byron for a long time, actually. It'd be good to check out what he's up to. But yeah, Byron had this new trumpet, and it was called Eclipse. And it and Eclipse at that time, I think, were called First Class Brass.
Wow.
And so they were really new, and they had this thing of the tuning slide at the back and all that kind of stuff. And his trumpet was okay. But his flugelhorn, Jesus, man, his flugelhorn was unbelievable. And I've played a lot of flugelhorns, and yeah, and they've been great. But this, an Eclipse flugelhorn is, I am, obviously an artist, an endorsed artist, but everyone, a good friend of mine in Bristol, actually, Andy Coleman, great trumpet player. He's just got an Eclipse, and from playing mine, it's just been like, man, this is unbelievable.
It's what works for you, isn't it? It's that sound you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just got the new, what is the new trumpet from Eclipse, which is behind me there. Which is it?
Yeah.
It's all reversed.
Yeah, it's all reversed. Yeah.
Yes. So which is the Eclipse Enigma, which is Lee McKinney, who runs Eclipse. He said, right, let's. I wanted a change in trumpet. I've only had 3 trumpets in my whole life, and he said, let's build you a trumpet. So I actually I got a hotel not far from the factory, so I could go in sort of like day after day and try get this trumpet absolutely right, and that is great, really, really, really great trumpet. It's awesome. Heavy. It's a no, it's not heavy. It's a medium red bell, I think it is. Let's talk technical. So it's got quite a dark sort of sound, but again, my tone is my tone. My tone is that sort of like is that sort of dark-ish tone anyway. The flugelhorn, I've got no idea what kind of bell that's got. I've had that for a very long time. It's one of the first flugelhorns that they ever made. I'm not sure they make that model anymore, but their new stuff it's all amazing. So mouthpieces, I use a 1 1/4 C on my flugel.
Weirdly enough, that is what everyone sort of, for a classical way, seems to be the go-to.
Yeah.
Which is insane. There's so many people that play 1 1/4 C. Arturo Sandoval plays a 1 1/4 C on everything.
Good enough.
Which is crazy.
Good enough for me. Good enough for me. And the trumpet, I use the Monet something B6.
Cool.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That'll do.
So as someone, well, you're quite vague. Like, there's a lot of people. There's people that go into the dimensions, the backbores, the threads, this, that, whatever. You're quite vague. You think it's a B6, which is fine.
quite vague.
No, but you know what I mean.
Just
it doesn't. It works.
General, really.
It works though. That's what you are. You. It feels to me like you don't care, but it works. So, in that case, why that one? Like, what are you feeling for a mouthpiece? For these people out there that are juggling from multiple mouthpieces, always thinking the next one's the best one. What for you? Is it comfortability? Is it feel? Is it resistance? What for you works? What's your balance?
Yeah. Okay. Let's get a little bit more technical then. So when I went in to get my trumpet, Lee obviously saw the kind of guy I was, that I wasn't, I didn't know anything about reverse. I didn't know what a reverse lead pipe was until fairly recently. Anyway, and then so he said, I'm not even going to tell you what these trumpets are. They're just on the shelf. I'm just going to give you one, and you're just going to play it. And that was the important thing for me, because it was all, for me, it was what was sort of free blowing. I obviously like quite a large bore, because the lead pipe that Lee makes, they slide in to the Eclipse.
Okay. Yep.
And he I kept trying them, and he kept going bigger and bigger and bigger with the bore, to the point where he made me one. He said, "I can't go any bigger, so I'll make you one." And it's the same. I think it's the same lead pipe as the guy. Oh no, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, from Simply Red. Kevin. He's an Eclipse artist, and apologies, I've forgotten his name. And yeah, he plays with a very sort of big sort of bore. So that's obviously what I like. I like quite a large,
quite an open feel. Is it the same for mouthpieces?
An open feel.
I'm guessing.
Same for mouthpieces, because I replaced my mouthpiece and then sent it back to the shop, because I was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because it had this wobble on the mouthpiece, but I ended up just getting one that fit in the end. It was a Warburton. I changed it to a Warburton, which are great mouthpieces, but I changed it to something that was just slightly too tight, and I was just like, nah, this is too tight, and that was it. And experienced the same thing when I changed my Monet mouthpiece. It was just too tight, and I was just like, no. So I like open free
stuff.
Blowing.
That's amazing. There's not,
instruments.
I think you're not few and far between, but I think you are the minority. A lot of people. I'm weird. Yeah. I like both. So you've played my trumpet. My trumpet is made. Adam makes them to be respond to less effort. So it has a bit of resistance and all the rest there. But I used to play a Harrelson, and that was quite big. It was quite a big horn. You could give, and it would just keep taking, just sit there. It'd be like Rocky Balboa going, "Come on," and I to this day, I'm gutted I got rid of it, because it was just so good having that real open feel and blow. So I love both. It's hard. It is a hard situation. And this is why I think there's trumpet players out there that have 13 horns and stuff like that. I mean, I know they got one, but there's a lot of trumpet players out there that have a lot. And that's because, they like all different things. And there is, but there is something to be said about finding a tool or an instrument, a mouthpiece or an instrument, and being able to do everything on that one.
Yeah. And that's the same thing I can take. And that's why the Eclipse is so important, because you can take that into so when I stood in his shop and played up close and personal and very intimately, it's got that rich dark sound, and then he can stand at the back of the room and I can blast it, and it's got that brightness to it. So that's as soon as you found that from a horn, because he was like, Lee actually said, what if we build you another one that you can use for like touring? And I just no, I just want one horn. That's all. Well, I've got that one and another one that's made out of plastic, and that's all I need. I'll take that on holiday.
Indestructible one.
the P trumpet. That's a P cornet, actually.
A P cornet, right.
with the P cornet, the flugel mouthpiece goes in it, so I can take that on holiday.
Yeah, I was about to say they're great for holidays, aren't they? That kind of stuff. So I don't know whether you know Javier Gonzalez, trumpet player. He's coming up with a lead trumpet exercise book. Because that's not lead trumpet, lead pipe exercise book. So I'm gonna get him on this channel once he's completed that book. It's going to be super interesting. I don't know whether anyone's watched his YouTube clips.
So is that what just playing on the lead pipe?
Yeah. So which
no way.
Yeah. So I've had a lesson with Mike Lovett. He's one of my heroes, and he had me working on a lead pipe for about an hour, and I tell you what, I've incorporated in my warm ups and stuff like that. It's amazing what you can just do on a lead pipe, and Javier takes it to quite an extent as well. So it's going to be interesting when I get him on. So
I guess that's almost like an extension of buzzing.
In a way, yeah, but it's also
he
works on tongue positions to be able to, because you can only play the harmonics, obviously. But to play everything in between, it has to be all dealt with your tongue position. So that's how he works it. So it'd be really interesting to have him on when it happens. So, but again, is it going to be different with tighter, big? I don't know. Do you know? It's going to be interesting.
I think it would. I mean, there's a massive, like with the with the Eclipse lead pipe, there was a massive difference between the gauges of lead pipe. So
of course,
absolutely, I'm sure it'll make a massive difference.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. Just a quick question on that as well, for Lee McKinney, who's a lovely guy. I've contacted him multiple times myself. If they wanted to go try Eclipse trumpets, can they just send him an email and rock up and do something?
Yeah,
like
send him an email. I think that I've not been to him in the times of COVID, so I sent my instrument to him.
Okay.
In the times of COVID, but no, I don't know what he's doing regards to sort of like social distancing and stuff. I think he's seeing people. But I don't know. You'll have to contact
All right.
eclipsetrumpets.co.uk, whatever it is.
Yeah, contact Lee. He's a lovely guy. He'll tell you what's going on. And we'll work from there. Quick question, because you're doing filming. You're still playing at the moment, though, aren't you? And practicing and all the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been recording today.
Awesome. For our final segment, it is... What is on your stand?
Nothing. My stand is in the loft.
No. Okay, what have you been practicing then?
But because everything is on, I have everything on PDF, so I don't have. So that's that was a silly answer. Sorry.
That's it. Completely. Though you just answered one question, which is like, and I did get booked for a gig. Well, I don't know. I'm guessing it's going to happen. But I got asked about a gig, and the mandatory thing, you have to have an iPad. This is the way the world's going now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is crazy. Which is
for function gigs and stuff. Over the 2 years, I've not taken a stand to a gig for many years. So yes, so my virtual stand, which is on my computer, I use the Wynton Marsalis recommendation for daily practice, and I've used that for the majority of my career, and I continue to use that, and I never get bored of it. And it contains all the usuals, the Arben and the Schlossberg, and but if I loaded up when I play with the iReal book, obviously I do that quite a lot. I can tell you what's on my stand. What was the last thing I looked at? Here you go. Just give me 2 minutes whilst it.
While you're doing that, George Hurst has popped through. Thanks for the support, George. He says, "Hi guys, I've listened to 70s disclosure track you did on Facebook 1,000 times. Epic."
Oh, that was good. Yeah, that was really. That was really fun, should I say? Yeah, that was a really funky track, actually. Yeah. Oh, thanks for listening, man. That was. That was really good. I love those guys. So the last thing I played was Petit Fleur by Sidney Bechet.
Ah, very nice.
So that is what's on my virtual stand.
That's what's on your virtual stand. Well, thanks very much for sharing that. Just a couple of quick fire sessions before we end up as well. What's an amazing gig that you did?
An amazing gig?
Yep.
I'd have to say, well, the one you played that I kind of
Kasabian.
headlining Glastonbury 2014.
Amazing. What's one of the funniest things you've had on tour? Or on a stage somewhere?
That I can repeat.
That you can actually tell. Yeah.
Funniest things.
Something funny. Because let's face it, things happen all the time. If you can't think of one, it's fine.
Funny things. I must have. Oh man,
we'll come back to it.
I've drawn a blank on that one.
We'll come back to it. That's all right. It might pop into your head as we're going through. Obviously, we've touched on the one thing that you would do, which is go back and teaching yourself to transcribe more from the beginning. That is almighty great advice to give. Top 5 inspirations. Obviously, Clarke Terry. Go from there.
Clarke Terry, Chet Baker, obviously, who I mentioned. I was trying to think of some non-trumpet players, actually. Let's mix it up a bit. So so I used to listen to a lot of Snoop Dogg. Absolutely. Why not? Art Pepper. I used to listen to a lot of Art Pepper.
Good,
sax player. And let's mention Herbie Hancock, of course.
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah. I mean, it's it's amazing, isn't it? Like one thing that I picked up from this stream is literally just go listen. Listen, no matter what it is, just listen and enjoy it. Feel the groove, find your love for what it is. I mean, the only music I quite don't understand, or doesn't groove for me, or maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because it's not grooving that it doesn't. It's the stuff I don't understand.
Speed skiffle.
Yeah, but it's just like either they're screaming into a microphone or
screaming into. Oh, we've all been there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my rock and I like my heavy rock, but when someone's literally just going, rah, 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 I don't get it. You know what I mean? And I also don't. I appreciate the groove, but I don't. When people are rapping that quick, I got nothing. Like when they're just like, I mean, it's impressive, but I wouldn't have a clue what you're saying. And that's when it doesn't. It's when I'm sort of like, but just take back and go, okay.
I mean, I think, maybe it's, I don't know whether it's a generational thing, because I can't, I'm a big fan of my hip hop and all that kind of stuff, but I can't get my head around mumble rap.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Which is the new thing, and it's just like, but even Snoop has a go at mumble, as in kind of, disrespects the genre, because it's just like, what, I don't understand that at all. It's so yeah. Actually, just for a laugh, I tried recreating it. I've got auto tune on Logic that I use, and I just thought I'll give it a go. So I gave it a go. It sounded great. So it's like
put on YouTube.
Mumble rap. So that's my next album. Basically, it's going to be
amazing.
a series of mumble rap.
Sounds great.
No. And shouting into the microphone.
Screaming so loud that you don't understand what you're saying. Yeah. And finally, what is let's just go for 3. What is 3 albums that you recommend to our listeners that they should go check out?
Okay. 3 albums that changed my life.
Yes, that is a good one.
Were D'Angelo's Voodoo album,
mm-hmm.
Erykah Badu's Baduism Live
album,
and
there's too many to choose from, isn't there?
Sgt. Pepper's.
The
last track on there is really badass. The groove is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And this, again, Gary, this is the one thing that I think we can literally probably change the stream to. Maybe I'll put it in brackets and call it In the Pocket after Gary Alesbrook, because you are all about groove, and dude, it comes across in your playing, your articulation when you play, your feel when you play. It is sublime, and I can't wait to hear the next stuff you come up with. I really can't.
Thanks, Ben.
So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this stream as much as I have chatting with Gary. Go check Gary's stuff out. Go over to his YouTube. Check out his film stuff as well. Hit his Instagram up. There's loads of stuff everywhere. It is inspiring, and it's so great to have you on, Gary. Good luck with everything. I hope everything opens up for you. Obviously you got your film and not your film, your TV stuff going, which is amazing, but I'm sure the playing stuff and the touring and everything will come back. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thanks very much, everyone else out there. Get yourself into a practice room and make sure you stay safe, and I love your work.